In recent years, a deadly disease has been affecting bats across North America. In today's video, we're going to talk about white nose syndrome, what exactly it is, and the conservation implications for North bats. So, this is all stemming from an article I read today. For reference, I have always been extremely interested in bats. I've helped out with bat research down in Central America a decent amount, as well as a little bit here in North America. But white nose syndrome, the topic of today's video, is a disease that primarily affects hibernating bats. It tends to spread much faster in larger colonies, and it is caused by a fungus, Pseudogymnoascus destructans. Throughout this video, we're going to call it PD. So what PD actually does is that it's thought that it irritates the bats or causes some other type of behavioral change to cause hibernating bats to be more active. Bats with white nose you may actually see flying out during the day or during times where they would otherwise be hibernating. This increased activity level causes them to burn up their fat stores, which is needed to survive throughout hibernation. And you may think, like, okay, so the bats are getting a little skinnier, but this is actually causing massive mortality rates. Mortality rates as high as 100%, to the point where Pennsylvania lost an estimated 99.9% of its bat populations after white nose struck, as well as other regions like Virginia losing 95% of its bat population. And I want to take just a second to talk about the insane diversity and importance of bats. So bats have a cosmopolitan distribution. They're found all over the world, and there are about 1,400 known species of bat. This is huge numbers. These are huge numbers. They represent fruit-eating bats to the typical insect eaters that you're used to, all the way to the giant flying fox bats. And they are, as a whole group, an extremely interesting study group, ecologically as well as evolutionarily. Once you start diving into the literature of bats, they just become more and more fascinating creatures. And they are important for humans. Not only do they eat a lot of bugs, as we kind of like constantly talk about, but they're also so important agriculturally. The USDA has estimates that I believe it's check my notes, $3.7 billion a year are, let me rephrase that. The US Geological Survey estimates that bats boost US agriculture by $3.7 billion a year by eating crop destroying insects such as larvae laying moths. So there's a hard economic impact. And if you like tequila, bats are also pollinators of the agave plant, which, well, gets us tequila. So, hey, pop a shot back for the bats. Here you can see some really cool images. This is probably one of the more famous images out there. But what I'm trying to get at is that bats are, I'm clicking it. Bats are really, really cool. They are extremely cool organisms, and they have lots of importance. So let's get back into white nose syndrome. So this is a really, really cool map that is on whitenosesyndrome.org, and it shows the spread of white nose syndrome. So if we look at 2006, we can see that it was first detected somewhere up in New York, where it then spread throughout the southeast, up into Canada, and started making its way over westward. And this is the fastest spread this is an incredibly fast spread. Not the fastest, but it is an incredibly fast spread. You see it's now reaching into Texas. I actually remember living in Texas when it was first really recorded, and it was absolutely fascinating to see the response because it was such a blow conservation efforts. It looks like first detected in Texas in 2017. Yep, I remember when that was because I was still at Texas A&M then. But what I'm trying to get at is that white nose syndrome has had a very rapid spread. It has spread across the country in only less than 2 decades. It had massive impacts on bat populations. And unfortunately, it's thought that this could actually get worse with climate change. Bats are, of course, affected by many, many other issues, habitat loss, climate change, insect declines, but white nose syndrome is definitely not doing them favors. As a reminder, mortality rates can be as high as 90 or even 100% in certain bat colonies. Now, I do want to say there is a glimmer of hope. There have been some treatments that are coming out for bats that do look more and more promising, as well as this article was just posted today, and they're saying that it seems that some of the bat populations are starting to rebound and may have a maybe not necessarily an immunity to white nose syndrome, but they are changing their behavior. It seems that they are actually going to older sites to hibernate, or maybe a more accurate way to say this is that bats at colder sites have a better chance of surviving when infected with white. Again, white nose syndrome is kind of weird. The fungus is actually very cold tolerant. It is thought to be I believe it's like phylophilic. They might have said that. I might be wrong there, but it's okay with the cold. It doesn't seem to affect it near as bad. And with that, wow, sorry, I forgot what the point I was going to make. What? Keep it, and we're just going to keep on going. So what this paper is saying is that some of the bats are actually starting to, and it seems that, for one example, they have Old Mine in Blair County had 7 bats in 2016. This is in, oh gosh, I didn't write it down. I believe Pennsylvania or Virginia. But 7 bats in 2016 at one site, and now in 2023, there are 330 bats. This is Pennsylvania. I have it right there. Okay. So the populations are starting to rebound, and it seems to be a slight mixture of maybe immunity as well as maybe differences in behavior, such as sites. But there are also some treatments under development. There are vaccines, there are anti-sprays, and it seems that ultraviolet light treatments in hibernation spots might be able to stop or limit the spread of white nose syndrome. So this is really what I wanted to talk about today, is just really make people more aware of white nose syndrome. I think a lot of people don't really realize what's going on with it. If you have visited some of the national parks that have bats, I visited the one in, oh my gosh, in New Mexico, the caverns, Carlsbad Caverns. And there they actually asked me to disinfect my boots, made sure I didn't go into any other sites, because it could have spread if I was in a different cave and I stepped on some guano or rocks that had the fungus and they were tracked on my boots, do it. So what I do to disinfect, by the way, if you're curious, this is also what I do for chytrid fungus, is I just use a diluted bleach mixture and I just keep a spray bottle, just spray it on the boots, and oftentimes I will scrub them down. But yeah, white nose syndrome is huge, is affecting North American bats really, really badly. There are some great organizations that are working on it. Bat Conservation International is a fantastic organization. And then this one, whitenosesyndrome.org, which I'm actually not sure. Oh, okay. So it does seem to be possibly through Fish and Wildlife, Department of the Interior, USA.gov, government spread. But they have a fantastic website that has this amazing visualizer. All this is linked down below. But yeah, I don't know. Have you ever heard of white nose syndrome? Are you aware of bats? Do you have anything really interesting that you know about bats? If so, hey, leave it down in the comments. Let me know. And yeah, have a great day.